Okay, this is the SNARS monthly meeting presentation for September 2nd, 2023. Our guest speaker is Randy K7AGE, and he's going to be talking about the ISS and slow scan TV. Is it ready or will it be? So Randy, I'm going to turn over to you. We're doing a manual mic to speakerphone here.
Okay, very good. Well,
go ahead.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. And I was just wondering, where are you guys physically meeting?
Okay, we're in Reno, Nevada, and we're at the called Jack Coffee Shop number 2. It used to be a Carol's years ago, and Jack is the owner. He has three places here. We found a room and started here 4 months ago or 5 months ago. And after a big respite of not having in person, we're back in person. So thanks for coming on. Where are you calling from?
Very good. How many people are there this morning?
Yeah, 25, 30 or so. Well, it's another whatever is on Zoom.
Okay. Any young people there?
Ask again.
I said, any young people there?
What do you call young?
I say under 40.
Was there anybody under 40? Is there anybody under 50? Okay, so we might have one under 50. That's funny.
Okay.
And one of the guys said, "Would you settle somebody that's not on Social Security?"
Right. Okay. Give you an idea of who all is out there. So anyway, I'm going to talk about ISS SSTV. So when it's ready, will you be? Because it's currently not operational. Okay, my name is Randy K7AGE. A little bit about me. I got my novice back in 1968. I was involved with the TV broadcast industry, working for Grass Valley Group, Grass Valley over the mountain from where you guys all are. I lived there, I don't know, close to 30 years. I retired in 2015. I moved up here to Gold Beach, Oregon, on the southern Oregon coast. Had a house built on 1 mile from the ocean, up 1,100 feet. I can see a lighthouse blink 35 miles up the coast from here. And I put up a tower with antennas and radioactive. And I've been posting videos on YouTube for, I don't know, 15 years or something. I started 1 year after YouTube had started. So, so the ARISS.org is the organization that oversees amateur radio on the International Space Station. Back during 2022, the SSTV operation on the Russian side of the space station became damaged. So they switched to new laptops and new software. And of course, all the hardware that they had to get replaced came from the ground. So it came up on a mission, and it's been sitting around there for a while. But hopefully, and I got this from Rosalie here a few days ago. So we're hoping that near the end of this year, the ARISS Ares team, Russian team, hopes to start to change out the hardware and get the new software running and be able to schedule events again. So I know in the past they've done like a week-long event around Christmas and New Year's. So who knows? Stay tuned. So what is SSTV, slow scan TV? Well, first of all, it has nothing to do with TV. This allows you to send and receive still pictures over the radio using audio frequencies. So this means you can use sideband, FM, AM, any audio mode to be able to send pictures. It was developed back in the 50s, and back then it was all vacuum tube based, and they used long persistent scope tubes to take and display the image, but the persistent wasn't long enough. So by the time the scan had reached the bottom of the screen, the top of the screen had completely faded away. So people took pictures of the screen at time exposure, or they recorded the audio on tape so they could play it back and see that again. Then we moved into specialized hardware. You could buy stuff off the shelf. Robot was big provider of that. But today it's basically free software available for all platforms, whatever your favorite device is. Excuse me. The picture transmission is slow. It takes 120 seconds to send the picture. This is what they're using on the ISS. They use what's called PD 120 format. And it transmits on 2 meters, which means just about everybody is able to take and receive it. So receiving pictures is a great fun project. If you've never done this, you can use simple radios, simple antennas, and free software. It's a great club project, a great project for schools, STEM, or a maker event. Allows you to learn something new if you've never done this before. You'll need to learn several things to make this work. So in this, allows you to develop a skill to make all this work. And you need some practice. The likelihood of the first pass of you getting an image properly is probably pretty slim, but it takes practice. So what is needed to receive pictures from space? Well, first of all, you have to know when the ISS is over your head. It has a radio footprint of, I forget now, but probably half of the United States or so. Then you need to know how to receive it, what equipment's used for that, and then how to decode the audio from your receiver into your computer in order to get the picture. Is everybody able to hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. You guys good? Yep, here it sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, good. There's several resources. I'm not going to show you exactly how to do everything today. That would take much too long. I'm going to kind of what's your interest a little bit, and I'll point you in different directions. So, and I sent this presentation to Barry. I don't know if you posted on your club website or whatever, but there's QR codes here to these things. So you can point your camera at the screen here and grab some of these. AMSAT UK has a great resource to get started. It's just kind of a long page, but it goes through everything that you need to know. So I would go there. I also did a video a couple years ago, which parallels a lot of what I'm talking about here, but goes into more depth. And I've done videos where I've done live streams and recorded them as the passes come over, so you can see what's happening in real time. So there's a QR code to that video. And almost anything you do today when you want to start something new, you go to YouTube and search around. So I probably got at least a half a dozen ISS, SSTV type of videos posted there. So how to know when the ISS is overhead? This is the easiest, and I think the best place to start is Heavens Above. It's a web page. It's free and open, and you can go there, and one of the first things you want to do, I don't know if my mouse shows up here, is change your observing location. So you click on that. I also mentioned here that it shows you where the ISS is, but this is not a live tracking. You have to make sure you hit the refresh button to get it to take an update. So if you go to change your observing location, it takes you to this page here, and you can move this marker around on the map down at the bottom. It allows you to save it. You can do search on your city, a search on your zip code, anything like that to get your location entered in. And it doesn't show up on here, but when you do, up in the kind of the corner of their web page here, when you first see it, it'll show you your Latin Longe is 0. Once you get your location in, it'll show your latitude and longitude. Once you do that, you can go back here to the main page, and you can get a 10-day prediction of satellites of special interest. So you select on the ISS, it'll bring this up, and you want to click on all here. Otherwise, it defaults to visible only, because what a lot of people do is use the scheduling here, the predictions, to know when to go outside to actually see the ISS going over. We want to know every time it's overhead, not just when it's the right conditions for you to see it, because it could be coming over at 12 noon. So click on the all, and you'll get all the passes, gives you the dates. the start time, and it kind of defaults to a start time at 10 degrees above the horizon. What the highest point will be here, it's at 48 degrees, and it ends at 10 degrees here. So it starts at 2:39 and ends at 2:45. So that's about what,
Six,
six
about
minutes.
6 minutes. It's a fairly quick, fairly
Well,
quick, fairly quick pass.
yes, and most of them are fairly quick. Here's a one down here, elevation of 71, the highest. So it starts at 19, ends at 26. That's like 7 minutes. So
Yeah.
they're fairly quick passes. And since it takes 2 minutes to send the picture, and then they pause for 2 minutes, then they send the next, hopefully you get a nice complete transmission during the midpoint of the pass. So this helps you with your planning to know when to get everything going. Although when it's a long duration event, just leave your radio run 24 hours a day.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So just curious, I know that some ISS have hams, other doesn't. How does this work as far as, do they have to have a ham aboard, or is this more like a digifeeder conceptually where it doesn't matter if there's hams on board?
There's usually hams on board. We know there's lots of US astronauts are hams. I don't know about the Russians. This is run by the Russians. This is not run by the American side. So there's radio equipment on the Russian part of the station, radio equipment on the American part. The radio equipment on the American part works primarily for the school contacts. You see those press releases by the ARL in places that another school event is on. And the Russians kind of manage what's happening with the slow scan. And you can, and most of the pictures you receive are all based on Soviet space activities. And what they do is they upload to the computer there the 12 or 16 images that they're going to have for the event, and the computer just automatically plays them out. So I don't know if a ham pushes the start button or if there's anybody watching it, but that's kind of how it runs.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Excuse me. So when you see announcement, the ARL usually posts these things out as soon as they receive them. The ARISS website will have the announcements, and quite often you'll see an announcement and it'll have various on and off times over for one day and some on and off times for another day. And you get all excited. You think you're going to be able to get some pictures, but you probably won't. Because if you analyze the on and off times with a satellite prediction tracking program, you see that the times that are scheduled are only when the ISS is over Russia. So there's no way you'd be able to pick them up over the United States. What we're looking for is the longer schedule events that they're on for 24 hours a day. That means worldwide coverage. And in the past, they've done this between Christmas and New Year's, which gives them like 7 days. So you have a lot of opportunity to be able to do this. They do some other longer passes, other times of the year, but we just have to wait and see. Okay, there's a lot of other tracking programs and choices. Orbitron's a good free program for Windows. I use GoSatWatch for the iPhones. There's lots of programs available for every computer and cell phone platform. But I suggest you use the heavens above, get used to that and see what's going on there. If you use another program, you have to set up your location. You got to make sure you get your plus and minuses for your latitude and longitude. Make sure you get the time zone set correctly. Otherwise, it'll tell you the ISS is overhead when it's not. So when you get your other program that you want to use configured, check it against heavens above. Remember to hit the refresh button so the little map shows up correctly, and see if the location of the ISS matches the two. Otherwise, you get real frustrated by missing the passes. Okay, how to receive? Well, they transmit on 145.800, 2 meter FM. On 2 meters, Doppler is not a big a big concern. So you don't have to worry about tracking the frequency. The frequency would be higher at the beginning of the pass because it's moving towards you. When the center part of the pass is when it's on the frequency that's published, and as it leaves you, it ends up in lowering frequency. But you really don't have to bother tracking that. It's not a problem. Some radios allow you to have a wider filter available, wide and narrow. So if your radio provides that, select the wide. That'll help. They transmit a lot of power compared to the other satellites. I think they run 10 watts for this, although the radio is capable of 25.
Yes.
So that means it's strong, but you will still get fading, unfortunately. So it's not uncommon to get a noise bar across the center of the picture. The picture takes 2 minutes to transmit, and then it pauses. They pause for 2 minutes, and then they transmit. So it just runs like that, hopefully for 24 hours a day. So you should be able to receive several pictures during the pass. You may get a partial at the beginning and a partial at the end, but that's kind of how it works. And hopefully you can get a decent picture during the middle of the pass.
Question,
Sure.
Hold on a
what
second.
will it be a picture of?
Whatever the Soviets load up. So it's usually a historical picture, commenting, talking where it mentions something that happened on a certain date. Of course, it's all in Russian, so you may not really understand what they're talking about.
Google
we'll
Translate.
see,
Thank you.
and we'll see some examples here towards the end.
Thanks.
So you can hear the ISS on an HT. Don't point your antenna at the ISS because you have a null off the top of the rubber ducky, so point it broadside. Of course, that's kind of the basic. You may hear them, but it'll be real difficult to get a decent picture from just a rubber duck antenna. You can use a simple scanner will work if you just want to set it up somewhere at a school or whatever, or you don't have enough radios. You can just use an old scanner. Your mobile antenna and your mobile radio will work. That's a nice ground plane. It's a nice broad pattern. A lot of people have mobile radios in their home. A simple antenna, simple vertical antenna will work better than a high gain vertical antenna. A quarter wave 2-meter antenna will work fairly well. Because what happens if you have a higher gain antenna, more of the antenna pattern is focused at the at the horizon. So that's good when the pass starts and ends, but a lot of the time will be much higher. So a quarter wave antenna has a much broader vertical pattern. Though I've had real good luck receiving on my, I think it's a Comet GP15, which is a 6-meter, 2-meter, 770 centimeter vertical antenna. The better view to the horizon you have, the less blockage from trees and buildings, the better. And the ultimate with satellite guys is to have tracking beams, but that's not where you're going to start. So this is what the radio is. It's a Kenwood, I believe like a D710. Kenwood has modified these radios for the space station. Instead of programming all the different frequencies into memories, they've put all those in the basic firmware of the radio. So if the radio crashes or they have to do a restart, it comes back up with all the channel information that they need to operate on the ISS. And I believe the power has been limited to a maximum of 25 watts. So it's set up to be basically simpler for the astronauts to use. They can be told to go to channel 15 and everything then is configured for how they want things to operate. The big bronze box that it's sitting on is the custom power supply assembly that the ARISS people have built. And it's a good thing about standards because there's so many of them. The power on the Soviet side of the spacecraft is different than the power available on the US side. So this power supply can be used in either location. It'll take the power that's available and be able to run the radio and provide some other interfaces. I think there's some cooling and stuff. So it's a fairly sophisticated power supply. And I like how they cover all the cables in this, whatever that material is as well. So that's the radio on board. And then there's antennas. There's some little patch antennas here on this area. This looks like over probably on the Soviet side, some other little antennas sticking out there. So some may be pointed at the earth, some may not be. So I don't know. Decoding software, one I use on Windows is MMSSTV. It's a free program. It's been around for years and years and years. It's kind of the mate to his MMRTTY program. So it's been around for a long time, free. This is what the basic screen looks like. You get a window here where the picture is being received. You can click on this magnifying glass here and get a larger one. So here's an example of what you might see. So this actually looks like a US picture. That's Barry Bonds there. I'm not sure who that is, but it's like a classroom event. You get this spectrum display up here. SSTV has sync pulses, basically at 1200 hertz, and black is at 1500, and white is up around 2100, and things will shift around here. You can actually kind of listen to this and watch the picture. When it's all black, it kind of sounds one way, and when there's a lot of picture information, it sounds another way. So it's kind of neat. You can select the receive mode to auto here, because at the beginning of the transmission, it spits out a little data burst to tell receiving software what mode it's in. You can also, I think if you right click on these, you can preset these. So I have one down here that's preset for PD 120. So I can force it into that mode to make sure that it always starts correctly. So the process can get real busy. You're trying to track the ISS, where it is overhead, get the radio working, and get the decoding software working. This can be a lot to do when you start out. And once it passes overhead, it's gone. So if you didn't have something set right, or the audio wasn't linked, or the decoding software didn't click in and decode, you've lost the pass. So what I kind of recommend when people start is to split the process into two. So when the ISS is coming over, focus on receiving the signal and then use an audio recorder to record it. Then after the pass, you can play back the recording into your decoding SSTV software to get the picture. And if you have problems with the decoding, you play the signal again until you get the decoding right. And once you get used to this, you have much better chance of doing it in real time. Recording the pass, you can, there's a lot of audio recording applications on your phone. You can use a little, digital recorder. This works pretty good. So, and this helps you to get started. Then you can play back the recording, hold it up to the microphone on your computer, and there's MMSSTV running, and you'll start to see the picture. Now, this doesn't give you the best quality. Sometimes you get room noise and echoes and stuff like that, but you can get started. Kind of like I said at the beginning, this is a process, and the likelihood of doing it correctly the first time is pretty slim, but you start working with this and you learn and you get better at it, and you make improvements to your station. As you get into more, what I say, real-time decoding, you need to get the audio from your radio into your computer. Some of the newer radios, like an IC 9700 and I believe the FT991A, provide audio through the USB connection, and then you can configure that in the software so it uses the audio from the radio directly, or you can use what you have for a PSK31 or an FT8 interface, a signal link, a digirig. You can make up your own cable to go between the two. You have to be careful because what would come out of the radio is typically speaker level, and you'd be going into the microphone input on the computer. So you basically need to attenuate the signal down. You can have a little pot there so you don't overdrive on the computer. You really don't need transformers probably for this, but a simple audio connection. To help you get going, I have a video of lots of passes. So this allows you to play back the video and get your decoding software to run. It becomes a little difficult if you play it back on the computer that you're trying to take and decode on, because getting the audio from one program out to the other program in is a little bit of a trick. You'd have to go to virtual audio cables, which just further complicates everything. So if you can play it back on one device and decode on another, that'll help you get going. So, and you can, I recorded the passes. You can see the ISS moving over my location as the picture is decoding, and you can see how you are decoding, how it compares to what I had received. Oh, some hints here. Open up the squelch on your radio. The signal will be weak when it starts and finishes. Some radios allow you to record directly to a memory card. The 9700 can do that. The ID 5152 HTs do that. I'm not familiar with what Yaesu or Kenwood radios do. During the week-long events, set this up and let it run 24 hours a day. Let it record passes when you're not around. Then you can come back to MMS TV to show you the history, and you can go through and delete the noisy frames and save the ones you want to keep. And in my video, I show you how to do that. You can use my video to help you practice with the decoding, and you will receive a lot of partial and noisy pictures, especially when you get going. So don't get discouraged. Improve your antenna and radio computer interface, and try for best antenna view to the horizon. Things to help you get going. So this is what I recorded during the 7-day event back in 2020, December. Back then I was using my TS2000, I think with a signal link, the Comet GP15 gain vertical and MMSS TV. And these were the best images. They were sending 12 in the sequence. So, you try and get all of them. I think there's a number in red here, so you know which ones that you're getting. You can see you can get noise bars, even though it's a real strong signal. And sometimes, like the one over here, is the best you can do with that. That picture. So that's it. Any questions?
Okay, thanks so much. Appreciate it, Randy. Anybody have any questions here in Reno? I have a question, and that is, you had said something earlier about, when it comes on. What's the current status? Do we know when it's coming back?
Not yet. The best Rosalie knew is that they hope to get the system up and running soon, whatever that means. Scheduling things on the space station, the ham radio stuff probably is one of the lowest priorities. So hopefully over the next couple months, they'll get the station back together again, and then kind of keep your eyes peeled on the news releases from the ARL and places for any announcements. But you got time. I'd probably say you got a couple months to play with this stuff.
Excuse me. Anybody on Zoom have any questions? Just come
Hey
off.
Barry, this is Richard. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, Richard, go ahead.
the question I have is, other than the week when they're sending 24 hours a day to snag a signal and a picture, is there any kind of schedule, or is it just catch as catch can?
And the normal operation is no SS TV is going on. So majority of the time, there's nothing happening. You have to wait until they announce an event and a schedule, and that's what's coming up at that point. Otherwise, there's nothing happening.
Okay,
unfortunately, it'd be nice if they just had a camera there, and every couple minutes it would just grab another picture of what was going on there. But nope.
Maybe that's a project for us as hams to sponsor and see if we can get up there.
Yeah, it's maybe something that the people on the United States side of the space station could organize with that radio. So it's kind of up to the Russians when they do this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Any other questions on Zoom? Okay, we got a question back here. You're gonna have to keep loud.
What polarity is the satellite using? Vertical or horizontal?
Yeah, what polarity is the satellite using, vertical or horizontal? Good question,
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Suppose. Circular.
I really don't know.
And it rotates.
I really don't know. So you use what you have, and that's kind of how it works. So just simple vertical antennas will work fine. You don't have to deal with circular polarized receiving antennas. That would just be too complex for most people.
I'm guessing some kind of vertical would work and some kind of circular, in that probably it's also probably I'm guessing the ISS might be rotating.
I don't think it really rotates. I think it's kind of fixed, and the solar panels kind of tilt and adjust to keep it pointed at the sun. So I don't think the whole thing.
That makes sense. Actually.
Yeah, I don't think the whole thing rotates. So you kind of wonder why it fades out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would Julie or somebody else have a question here? No. I have a question. So it's 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. Do we know or will be published when the 2 minutes is on and when it's off, so we know what to look for, what the cycle is?
No, it just says it's starting at this time on this date, and when it comes over, you may not hear anything. Just keep listening, and then it will start. So it just keeps going on and off.
Another question is, when did it stop transmitting? How long ago, do you know?
Well over a year. It's been broke, so they had to get new equipment and then get the stuff on a launch to get it up there and get the equipment all has to be tested out, and
the whole process.
Those power supplies were a huge project. I think they had to end up building about 10 of them. So there's like 2 on the ISS, but they needed them for training and testing. It was a very expensive project.
Okay, final call. Any questions for Randy about the ISS? Nothing here in Reno. Anybody on Zoom?
So has anybody out there done this and received pictures from the ISS?
No hands here in Reno. A lot of shaking heads. No. Anybody on Zoom?
Oh.
Okay. So you brought us some new knowledge, Randy.
There you go. You got something to try and play with.
Yeah, a couple of things. Will you be at Pacificon this year?
Yes, I will. Yep.
Okay. So that's great. If I'm down there, I'll say hi. And how do they get hold of you for questions about this or anything else? Because I know you have a lot of videos.
K7AGE at K7AGE.com.
Okay, very simple. We'll take the recording. We'll get it online along with the PDF or along with the slide deck. Thank you so much for presenting on this Saturday morning in that somewhat overcast, little rainy Reno. And we have about, I don't know, maybe we had 25, 28, 30 people here and another, 10, 13 or so here. So altogether, 30, 35, 40.
Good. Okay.
Good. Thank you so much and appreciate you very much. 73.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so this completes the presentation for SNARS for September 2nd. 2023.